Chaksurunmilitam jena tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitang Tang Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangsya Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadivyachcha Visundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasa Pradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Hare Krishna. Today is the disappearance of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. What is his mantra written by Guru Maharaj? How does it begin? Does anyone remember? Jagannathayam. Anyway. Vaishnava. Huh? Speak aloud. Shaishayar.
Vaishnava Vandya Vigraham.
Jagannatha Prabhum Vande.
Premabdhim Vritha.
Premabdhim Vridha.
Vaishnava.
Vaishnavam. To say is the most senior amongst the Vaishnavas, and they're actually Vaishnavas of the highest quality, is quite a statement of recognition indeed. And also Rasikananda Prabhu and Srila Bhakti Daita Madhav Maharaj. So Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj we hear that he lived until 125 years of age, that he was the Vaish Guru of Bhagwan Das Babaji, who gave Vaish to Gorkishore Das Babaji, and we hear he gave Vaish to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But really, it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur's recognition of him that is most meaningful to us. As when Bhaktivinoda Thakur feels that he has discovered the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Mayapur. But as Srila Guru Maharaj says, one should not be overly confident in their own estimation of things. So we see the Vaishnavas, they're always seeking the guidance, the approval of higher Vaishnavas, or what Guru Maharaj says, more experienced, reliable. And to verify what they feel. Hridayena binugyato dharmasta nibodhata. At last, what is felt in the heart, verified in the heart, but still they like that from the heart of another Vaishnava, some approval. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur arranges for Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj to visit Mayapur. We know, like here, Tulsi Devi is asserting herself in different ways, everywhere, springing out of the soil. So it's truly a Vrindavan, a forest of Tulsi. But when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was searching on the British-made maps of everything, and there was some place, and it was called, the way they spell it was Myapur, like Mayapur. So he went there, and the local Muslim farmers said, no, there's some land over here that is useless. We've tried cultivating many different crops there, and nothing grows there except Tulsi. Right? And he's saying, oh, that place I should. Only Tulsi will grow from its soil. And he received some divine indication that this is the place of the appearance of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But still, he wants the corroboration and approval from the Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Sri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, the premier, most senior and leader of the Vaishnavas of the day, who is so old at the time, we're told, he cannot walk and is rather carried in a wicker basket, rattan or whatever that, and we've seen that. People think that's strange, that in India previously, different palki, they call it, kind of short for palanquin. Some people who were not fit would be carried up to Badrinath. So there's this way that the basket fits on the person, then the man sits in the basket, and they carry them. You might have seen that still. It's in certain places, it's there. So he's carried by his attendant. And we're told at the time also, as we've seen in the Parampara picture, that he's hunchbacked, although a tall figure at this time due to advanced age, and he's hunched over and what would generally be described as invalid. As Srila Gurudev would sometimes say, I may be invalid, but my friends are valid. But anyway, so Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings him there. And he is so overwhelmed by the spiritual atmosphere and substance that we're told. He leaps out of his basket and into the air, and he's taking the holy name of Krishna. So he's leaping like a meter off the ground in ecstasy. And that's the verification. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says also in his, I believe in the Kalyana Kalpataru, that on an Ekadashi once, that Jagannath Babaji was overwhelmed on that day, and taking the holy name of Krishna and leaping high and dancing, and all different ecstatic symptoms were visible on his divine form, and he, by his mercy, extended them to all of those who were participating in the kirtan. So what he was experiencing, he extended to them. They had that experience. Such is the power of such great souls. And that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaurkishore Das Babaji, from him they want their substantial connection, is also very telling. And Rasikananda Prabhu, disciple of Shyamananda, we hear from Bilva Mangal Thakur, Mukti Mukuli Tanjali Sevatesman Dharmartha Kama, something, that the actually everything is at the disposal of a pure devotee, as everything is at the disposal of Krishna. Right? As I say, we serve at the pleasure of Krishna. But the devotees, they're rarely employing anything. They prefer to live in the minimal way. But on a moment's notice, mukti is ready to serve. Everything, mystic power, whatever it be, they're all ready. They're ready to offer themselves in service to such exalted personalities, the personification of these things. So we hear that one Muslim fakir, means like mystic, who had heard of the glories of Rasikananda Prabhu, wanted to have his darshan, to meet him. And for his entrance, he chose to arrive riding a tiger. Right? So he's controlling the tiger, and thinks, this is an impressive way to show up, So he comes in riding on the tiger. I've come to see Rasikananda Prabhu. And he meets Rasikananda Prabhu's attendant. He says, one minute, please. And he goes and finds Rasikananda Prabhu, who's sitting on a broken brick wall and brushing his teeth with a twig. Right? He said, there is one Muslim fakir who's come to see you. And he's saying, I should receive him immediately. This wall, take me to the fakir. And the broken brick wall starts carrying him. So the fakir gets down from his tiger and gives his dandavats. And he thinks, I can control the animate, but he's making the inanimate move. He commanded the wall to move. Such is the power of the great souls. So, and Srila Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Maharaj, known in Gaudiya Math as Hayagriva Brahmachari, whom Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur described as a man of volcanic energy. And Guru Maharaj said that when Madhav Maharaj would always come to see Guru Maharaj, stay there a few weeks every year at the Mat, and he told Saraswati Thakur of the glories of Srila Guru Maharaj, that whether it's an ancient Sanskritian or a modern educated European, Srila Sridhar Maharaj represents Sri Gaudiya Math in such a way as to demonstrate its superiority to any conception presented to him. And that Madhav Maharaj, different Vaishnavas approach the seva of Acharya differently. So Madhav Maharaj showed a very maybe stern figure to his disciples, a very perfect representation of the Acharya. So but when he would come to visit Guru Maharaj, he was playing like a child, laughing, eating, many different things, and like just having fun with Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev at Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. And he used to say to Guru Maharaj, "You're the best advisor to a king, but you wouldn't be a good king." And Guru Maharaj would say, "I have no aspirations to be a king." He's not inclined for that position. And their preaching party, imagine this, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Madhav Maharaj, Srila Goswami Maharaj, the three of them, they're like a preaching party in Gaudiya Math. And Saraswati Thakur used to refer to them as my party. Some special connection he felt for them. And just imagine, then Swami Maharaj Prabhupada invites them to his house for a program. So Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj, it's his house program, and who's coming but Sridhar Maharaj, Madhava Maharaj, and Goswami Maharaj. That's quite a program. And I said, Sridhar Maharaj would speak, Swami Maharaj and Madhava Maharaj would do the kirtan, and Goswami Maharaj would collect. So, but so we heard of the glories of Srila Madhav Maharaj, and also that he is also very handsome, and it was one of the reasons why he was not selected to go to Europe, to London, was that he was so handsome, and someone said, "And the ladies of England are like apsaras." They'll be too much attracted to him, so someone else was selected. At that time, Goswami Maharaj. But it was our good fortune in the early 70s, these great disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur were still moving in the plane of service in India, in various places where they had established mats. And so in like the autumn, I guess it was, of 1974, on my way out of India, I wanted to visit Jagannath Puri before I returned. I'd been to Vrindavan, Navadip, Mayapur. I thought if I can visit Jagannath Puri, I'll be very fortunate and happy. And so I went to the station, and I violated some of the advice the more experienced devotees had given, which was there were certain do's and don'ts. And one of the major don'ts was never ride the train in third class unreserved. Just never do that. I didn't even know what it was, so they said, but never do it. And I remember when this decision to go to Puri, I didn't have time to get a proper ticket and everything, and the only thing available was third class unreserved. And I saw on that train car all the stages of life, from birth to disease, old age, death. Everything was there in one rolling, rollicking ride. It was something I shall never forget. But before boarding the train, third class, unreserved, when I reached the Howrah station, I saw this angelic, distinguished, handsome-looking sannyasi, perfectly adorned and sannyas vesh, and it was Madhav Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Dayita Madhav Maharaj. And I gave Shastanga Dandavats to him at Howrah Station. And if you know anything about Howrah Station, it hasn't won any awards like uncleanliness. But there was no hesitation. I heard just Shastanga Dandavat. Just seeing him, I felt compelled for Shastanga Dandavat. And when I rose, he asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm going to Puri. He said, oh, I'm also going to Puri. He was going first class reserved. And I might have mentioned that I was going third class unreserved, which one should never do. And so he, was very happy to see that I was going to that place, and he was going to perhaps to the Purushottam Gaudiya Math of Srila Saraswati Thakur. He was originally from Dhaka, Bangladesh, but that seva came to him. So anyway, then we parted, and he went to his car, I went to mine. And then when I arrived in Jagannath Puri, my only guidelines were things I'd heard here and there from devotees. And unlike Vrindavan, you can kind of stumble upon holy places. Everyone knows where certain things are. If you say Govindaji, they all point, or Madan Mohan or Radha Damodar, you'll get there. In Jagannath Puri, you may not even know what to ask for. And other than the Jagannath temple, which we're not allowed to enter. And I knew that, I'd heard that. I didn't know to what degree they enforced that rule. And somehow, the way Maya works is this thought entered my brain that yes, you cannot enter the Jagannath temple, but it's a complex. And they're surrounded by many temples, the Nrsimha temple, this. And I thought, so I can enter the complex and not go into the Jagannath Mandir proper, but to these peripheral temples. That's what I told myself. As I walked through the gate, let's see, this is east and that is west, and this is north, south. The southern gate. And within seconds, the barefoot policeman grabbed me, and they didn't say, "Oh, my dear child, you're not allowed, please, you come with," not like that, but they grabbed me and dragged me outside and threw me in a gutter. And I would remind you, this is an Indian gutter. There's some very nice gutters in the United States and Switzerland and other places. This was not like that. This was an Indian gutter, which they're still visible in certain parts of India, and they have all the the remnants of different aspects of life. That's what I will say. So I realized I must have done something very wrong. Like, things are not going well. Right? I'm in this holy place and I'm in a gutter. And I'm not looking at the stars. And so I'm thinking, like, I need some adjusting, because this is just not good. I've never had any experience like this. And other places, sometimes we misbehaved, that's for sure. I will admit that, and I regret that to this day. But this was extreme. And as I came out of the gutter and realized I need to change my clothes, and I was very, what's the word, downtrodden and walking my head down, and I got in a rickshaw to return to the place where I was staying. And then coming on the rickshaw in another direction, there was Srila Bhakti Sudhir Maharaj. And he could see that I needed affectionate guidance. So he stopped both the rickshaws, and he could see, it was just obvious that I was in need of help. So he took me to the Purushottam Gaudiya Math and to a Tulsi garden. And this was sort of at the end of the day, the twilight. And there, and finally it was coming out of me, my innate resentment at not being allowed Jagannath Darshan. And I said, I don't understand why, we're following seriously the Gaudiya line. As Guru Maharaj would later mention that Mahaprabhu never interfered in Puri. Some people say, well, in Navadvip he led the civil disobedience movement against the Chand Kazi who broke the Mridanga, and that may be, and it is true, but he did no such thing in Jagannath Puri. He never challenged them or their system. In fact, he and the Goswamis went out of their way to not even remotely challenge that. Right? As evidenced by Sanatana Goswami walking on the hot sands, Haridas Thakur at Siddhabokul, etc. Right? So when I said to him, I don't know, he said to me, Haridas Thakur never entered the temple. And my head went down a little bit. And then he said, Rupa Goswami never entered the temple. My head went down further. He said, Sanatana Goswami Prabhu never entered the temple. Now my head was almost on the ground. And I thought, who do I think I am? Haridas Thakur, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they never entered, but I, right? Who am I? I'm not being recognized. It was so childish, infantile. But saying, so now my head is like, I'm humbled, humiliated. Dostoevsky says that humiliation is the most intense form of consciousness. I mean, when you're humiliated, you're very focused. You're really aware of yourself at that time. And everything's clear. In humiliation, everything is very crystal clear. And nothing external distracts you. You're very focused. But then Madhavamaya said, but, so for you, your parikrama will be, as Mahaprabhu gave the Siddha area to Haridas Thakur, from there he can view the chakra, which is equal to Jagannath. That'll be the first place that you visit. And I had this little white diary, which I kept for so many years, and I don't know where it is. So I wrote that down. That'll be the first place you go. Siddha Bokul, where Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they stayed, and Mahaprabhu visited them every day. And then you will go to the house of Vasudev, Sarvabhauma, Bhattacharya, Shveta Ganga is on the way. So as I wrote these things down, and what was amazing is he told me the rickshaw prices, like the exact amount of the fare. So when the rickshawwalas would tell me 5 times that, and I would say what the exact fare was, they would be shocked. And I would pay them a little more just to make them happy. But they couldn't understand how I knew what the actual prices were, which were things like 75 paisa, not even like 3 rupees, 5 rupees. He told, so I'd write the place and then the exact amount, and then where I go from there, the exact amount, and what to say to them, and they'd always go. So they knew someone had told me, and it was Srila Bhakti Daita Madhav Maharaj, each place where to go, and how to this would be the proper way to do parikrama in Jagannath Puri, and I can only think how merciful he was to me personally, that I was 22 years old and newly minted in the Krishna consciousness movement. I joined when I was 19, so I'd been involved for, say, 3 years. And he just very mercifully helped me, told me everything I needed to know, was very kind. So the person whom Saraswati Thakur described as a man of volcanic energy, I got to see him in his very soft, fatherly side. Like with fatherly love and affection and concern, he took care of me at the time when I needed it the most. Then it didn't matter that my clothes were soiled, and I was so happy, I couldn't be happier. And the next day, with fresh cloth, I began that tour. Oh, and he also told me where I will get prasad from Gopinath Kuntia, who personally served me the prasadam, and that family, their name is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So they take care of the Gaudiya line, but they were there. Mahaprabhu went to their house in Puri, and as Srila Gurudev said, like when you go to Vrindavan, there's a memorial that's built on the spot or the general area. In Puri, some of these places are the exact same way they were when Mahaprabhu was there. So that's something to consider. And Guru Maharaj said that Madhava Maharaj, when he'd visit him, he would, and you know, you say how you're doing, how you're keeping, all that. He said Madhava Maharaj would have 5 or 6 programs going with 5 or 6 different groups of people. And then I thought, who does that remind us of? The personality who has 5 or 6 different programs going on simultaneously with 5 or, different groups of people, none other than Srila Bhakti Bimal Avadut Maharaj, who we could reiterate, borrow that phrase and say, a man of volcanic energy. So, what good fortune we have to meet His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Saraswati Thakur's most prolific disciple, but to meet the others also. And Prabhupada, while sometimes as a brother to brother, God brother, he had some critical remarks, he did not like to hear them from his disciples about his God brothers. And we're told to see the God brothers of our Guru as Guru. And certainly we saw more than a few how, and it only made us appreciate all the more the position of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. That if these are his disciples, then who is that Guru? And that actually could segue to the question about Bhagavan. And it's asked before, when we hear Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And this was, you could say, introduced by Srila Govinda Maharaj. And in his own explanation he said, originally, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was known as Prabhupada by his disciples. And some backstory on that, we could say, in Nityananda Vangsha and Sahajiya circles, Prabhupada is this preeminent title they only use for certain personalities, particularly in Nityananda Vangsha line. As when Vidagya and I met these Nityananda Vangshas who, they believe, for example, that Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj's success, worldwide success, and spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world, is due to his having been initiated by them when he was like 10 years old. That's when he got the empowerment. And while we're talking to that gentleman, whose name was something Prabhupada, a householder, he had a child, a toddler, who, while we were talking, it was like crawling on the floor. And as he came near us, he said, "Oh, meet Sukadev Prabhupada." So he was also Prabhupada, Sukadev Prabhupada. I don't know about the wife. But anyway, so that was the title they used with regard to Saraswati Thakur, in a sense, to say, as much as anyone can be Prabhupada in their life, he's also that. As he's showing, these Vaishnavas are not less than Brahmins by giving Brahman to many things. Some of these things were very pertinent to the society of the time and may be almost indecipherable in the modern world, but there are reasons behind all of these things. Still, so he became known as Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada by his disciples, Prabhupada, Saraswati Thakur. So, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he became known as Srila Prabhupada to his disciples. This disturbed some of the disciples of Saraswati Thakur. Guru Maharaj said, no, Guru, he gave support, but to get to the point. So Srila Govinda Maharaj, as he traveled around the world, he saw that on the world scale, within Gaudiya Math, Prabhupada means Saraswati Thakur. So no one else can be called Prabhupada. Within ISKCON, Prabhupada means A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Right. But Srila Govinda Maharaj, who was raised on a Gaudiya Math way of formalities, and saw that he went around the world. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he's Prabhupada. If you go around the world and mention Prabhupada, people know that it's him, or think of him. They don't think of Saraswati Thakur. So he thought that then it would be nice and appropriate to address Saraswati Thakur in such a way that there was some unique level of exaltation. So he began saying, Bhagwan, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now some people thought that that was inappropriate. And they thought, so much so that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, certainly he would not have approved. He did not do that, and he would not approve of that. So, Srila Govinda Maharaj, he has all the books of Srila Guru Maharaj. So, in one of the books of Guru Maharaj, like a Bhagavatam with marginalia, he has, in the handwriting of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, him saying, Bhagawan Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Right. Which he showed at one point to someone who had grave doubts about the authenticity, no, what's the word? The wording. No, who was questioning the I'm saying authenticity, there's another word. So to that person who was questioning, saying, Guru Maharaj would have never done this. And he said, you see this book? This is the handwriting of Srila Guru Maharaj, and it says, Bhagawan Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So that's where that comes from. And then whether or not someone can be called Bhagawan, this was kind of funny because Gurudev and we would mention the different places who was known as Bhagawan in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagawan Badarayani, Bhagawan Badarayana. So sometimes, Veda Vyas, Sukadev. But Bhagawan Drona, Bhagawan Narada. So Bhagawan used repeatedly in different places. And because I had the advantage of the Veda base and search, whenever I'd find a new one, I would tell him. And he would go, Acha Baba. Like more than we even thought. But Bhagawan Drona was kind of, you know, if Dronacharya could be called Bhagawan, Saraswati Thakur could not. So it's one of those things. But I would say finally that when Srila Govinda Maharaj decides to do something, he's already got himself covered. It's not that he gets overcome by some whim. What is wrong with the loop on the pictures? They're not showing properly. Anyway, when he decides to do something like this, it's vetted, it's covered, he has aces up his sleeve. He doesn't just whimsically get overwhelmed by something and then blurt something out, and then he's in the unfortunate position of having to withdraw that. That's not how he approaches things. So he's already got the book with Guru Maharaj saying, he's got the references in the book. He has all these things in his pocket, so to speak. And then he begins something. And I was told, your friend, do you have some question? Now he's intimidated. I should have let him ask the question first. Hare Krishna. Any other questions? The other one's like a major question. I would save that for another time.
Okay, Maharaj.
But I mentioned Jagannath Babaji, Rasikananda Prabhu, Srila Bhakti Dvaita Madhav Maharaj. Sometimes we get carried away with our own intellectual analysis of things, and even Vaishnavas. And Srila Guru Maharaj would say to me that, tell me to stop and say, we want the grace of these personalities. So don't analyze in such a way as you no longer are a recipient of their grace. And I guess that's what I mean to say by Prabhupada can make some comments, it's God brother to God brother, but that's not for us, really. We want to be in a position to receive their grace. So when I met Srila Madhava Maharaj, there were no untoward thoughts in my mind. I was just overwhelmed by the beauty, the spiritual radiance that was obvious of this divine person. And he was very kind and merciful to me, as we hear the Vaishnavas are. You know. But, and really what was only a few years later, when I approached Srila Guru Maharaj, he was thinking, he's saying, one by one, day by day, you're so many left in this one brief period. Madhava Maharaj, Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, Ban Maharaj, and maybe perhaps some others, Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, and when I first met Guru Maharaj, it was 1978, and I mentioned it, he was kind of overwhelmed and shaking his head and feeling some sadness about that. But he came to realize, and I came to realize, that the wealth of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur that was stored in him That's how he described it. As if to say, sometimes I want, all this wealth is stored in me and more or less remains that way. Madhav Maharaj would come once a year, Goswami Maharaj, Jajavar Maharaj, something like that. They're visiting Guru Maharaj for a few weeks a year, and during that time, Guru Maharaj is sharing some of those realizations that Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada said will make you faint. Right. But otherwise, he's upstairs. The Mat program is going on downstairs, Pat and Kirtan. And that's what people understand. Not everyone, they didn't go up every day for a class from Srila Guru Maharaj. He came down 3 times a year, maybe 4. Gaur Purnima, Saraswati Thakur's appearance day, Gaur Purnima, Radhastami, and his own Vyas Puja. Those are the times he came down. And otherwise, devotees would go, they would bow to a picture of Guru Maharaj. They'd go up a few steps, and then there's a picture. They bow to a picture or the direction, his veranda. And Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would decide who would be taken to Guru Maharaj. And that's why when we came, and Guru Maharaj is really not inclined to come out, so to speak. Srila Gurudev, who's, I once said he could charm the hood off a cobra. He's that charming. Would say, Maharaj, they've come from so far. Saraswati Thakur wanted you to preach in the West. 5 minutes. And Guru Maharaj would say, all right, I don't have the 5 minutes, Maharaj, just 5. Okay, then 5 minutes. And that would turn into 90, 45 to 90 minutes. And then Guru Maharaj later commented, what was stored in me by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in my final days, it's coming out. And it came out, it was drawn out of him by the necessity of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada Swami Maharaj. So how wonderful is that? Their necessity brought out what was stored in him. So when we hear sometimes the stories of the ancient Vaishnavas, they were living in some place and only known to a few, like Rasikananda Prabhu and Jagannath Babaji Maharaj. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself had something like 7 disciples. Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, we hear 1 Saraswati Thakur, sometimes 3, 5. That's it. That Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, we can understand, I think, why only 1 or 1, 2. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that he only had like 5 or 7 disciples, is just like mind-blowing. And the whole wealth of the modern Krishna consciousness movement comes from him. Gurudam, Grantadam, Gauradam, Namadam, Uda, Bhaktidam, Buridam, Bande, Bhakti Vinodadam, Sada. Everything we have comes from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Because he got an agent of distribution in Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And these exalted disciples of his, whom Lord Jetland of England, who had much appreciation for Indian culture, and Sri Gaudiya Math, said when he saw Saraswati Thakur and his sannyasis, and he meant this from his heart and seriously, he said, I felt as though I was seeing Jesus Christ and his 12 apostles. I felt it was like that. That's how stunning their presentation was. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Tirobab Mahamahutavati Ki Jai Srila Rasikananda Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Bhakti Dayata Madhav Maharaj Ki Jai. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan.
Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chanda.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chanda.
Garadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath.
Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath.
Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath.
Hey Jai Go Jai Kori Charana Bandhan.
Shri Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan.
Jaha Hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran.
Jaha Hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran.
Hey Jai Go Jai Char Mui Taro Das.
Shri Jai Gosai Jamuni Dandada.
Kansavara Padarenu Mora Panchagras.
Sansavara Padarenu Mura Panchaga.
Sandera Charan Sevi Bhakta Sanivas.
Sandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas.
Janame Janame Mori Avilas.
Janame Janame More Abhilas.
Hey Jai Go Jai Jave Braje Koilovas.
Hey Jai Gosai Jabe Bhaja Goravas.
Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korilo Prakash.
Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash.
Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan.
Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Bhajayaman.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Bhajayaman.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriyan.
Harinam Sankirtan Koe Narottamadan.
Harinam Sankirtan Kore Narottamadan.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Gaur Hari Bo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajagacharya Satir Sadashi Srimad Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Shri Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Saparikar Shri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Jiyo Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Govardhan Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Shri Gupta Govardhan Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Vishva Varaniya Srilesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Madhacharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Vimalavadip Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudha Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Sri Lekha Didi Ki Jai. Radha Raman Prabhu Ki Jai. Nakshi Didi Ki Jai. Seva Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, so Rasikananda Prabhu Tirva Mahotsav Ki Jai, so Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Tirva Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai, so Bhakti Dayata Madhav Maharaj Tirva Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Go Premanande.
Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. And Dandavats Maharaj from Dhananjay Prabhu, Praneshwar Didi, Florida, USA, Tapanandini Didi, Maladhari Didi, Madhurananda Prabhu, Sahadevi Didi, USA, Radhana Rupini Devidasi, USA, Madhavi Didi, Hungary, Suchitra Didi and Madhu Mangal Prabhu, Katerina Salenko, about to receive Harinam from Avadut Maharaj, Atula Krishna Das from Hungary, Didi, Atula Krishna Didi, I'm sorry, Purushottam Prabhu. That's all for today.
From Salt Lake, I think. Yeah.
It is not mentioned, but
Yeah, it is.
you know better.
Right.
Hey.